And I've always believed that the more you give, the more you receive, because I'm a witness of that.
It's just something that I live. It's just something that I live. Hey, hey, hey. It's just something that I live that this world don't live. It's just something that I feel that this world don't feel. I gotta keep it real. J.E. Get 'em. It's just something that I live that this world don't live. It's just something that I feel.
Welcome to the Let Bob podcast. It's your boy Ant. Unfortunately, again, my boy Dave's not here with us. But it's all right. He getting that family time in. You know how we feel at Bob, family first. So we're going to keep, supporting Dave and letting him do what he do. He's going to be back on the show soon. Man, today we're in Jacksonville, Florida at Lit TV, Black-owned TV network. Man, this is so exciting for the Bob team. And then on top of that, man, I got my unc in the building. I talk about him all the time, and I got him on the podcast, man. My Uncle Dexter, he owns Davis Law Group down here in Jacksonville, Florida. Independently owned. He doing this thing, one of the best in the business down here in Jacksonville. Personally, I think he's one of the best in the building in the country. Then he's a real estate tycoon in my mindset. This is my mentor. The guy I look up to so much, man. It's just an honor to have him on the podcast sitting next to me. I got him out of his zone a little bit. But for me, man, he said he'll show up. So, Uncle Dex, man, you're on here with me on the Let Bob podcast. Welcome. Thanks.
Good to be here.
So before I start, I want to publicly say, man, thanks for all you do, man. A lot of people don't get their mentor in their brand and get the opportunity to just personally thank them. So thank you for all you did, all you've done, all you do, and just know, man, you saved my life, and look where we at now. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. So let's start. Davis Law Group. Tell the people, how did you end up with a black man with his own law firm doing big things in Jacksonville, Florida? Give us some background on that. How did that happen?
I'll just say first, welcome to Duval again. You're a regular here. But I started Davis Law Group in 2007 after being in a partnership with another individual and after another partnership. But I started in 2007, been going strong now for about 15 years.
Yeah. I remember when you bought the building. I remember I was at FAMU. Again, he responsible for me going to FAMU too. Y'all know I'm country boy. I'm from, McCalla, so I never heard of FAMU. But he was down here in Jacksonville, so he told me about FAM, and so that's how I got there. And when I was there in 06, 07 time when you first got your firm. I remember that.
You actually helped me tear down some walls in that building.
Yeah, I remember that.
Many years ago.
I was old immature. I didn't know like the decision to do that. Buy a building downtown, like the financial obligation or something like that. Like
I was just blessed. I was with another partner who didn't care to stay downtown, but we was working across the street from that building. And I told him with a little construction, contractors come in, do their thing, made the building beautiful.
Yeah, no. I remember going through that experience with you. And then the cool part about it is that he ain't talking about this, y'all. He trying to keep it on the low. He bought the building. He's a real estate guy. So, that was the smart part. He got a firm, but his firm is inside the building that he owns. That's the part that's the financial literacy piece that he's not telling us about. So tell us, why did you do it that way? Why didn't you just rent from somebody? What made you purchase the building?
Well, we were renting from someone across the street. We were paying $4,000 a month.
Okay.
And the building, once I financed it, was like $2,800 a month. So my business, Davis Law Group, pays my other business, Van Davis Properties, to rent from there. And I also had tenants in the building as well. So lucky for me, the building was paid off pretty quick. And here we are.
And so now y'all see why he's my mentor, right? He's always been just really good with making his dollar be worth more than a dollar. And sometimes his dollar's worth $3, $4 because he's really smart with how he does his money, just how he goes into a financial situation. Something else that he taught me early on was credit card management. One thing I've always admired about him, he don't believe in carrying no credit card debt. month to month. He gonna pay that card off. And when I was young, he's telling me this stuff. I'm like, what do you mean? Like why are you paying off? And so he put me on the whole deal with interest and how that worked. But something I want to ask is, well, where did you get it from? Because I know Granddad ain't teach that. I don't think he did, at least.
Well, you know, Dad was kind of frugal. He was cheap. But trial and error, learning and getting ripped off and growing. You were lucky because I gave you books on tapes and stuff. And you learn quick and listen to different. I used to listen to a lot of autobiographies. When I was going to law school, I actually commuted from Jacksonville to Gainesville, which is about 75 miles each way every day during law school. So to spend my time wisely, I would listen to a book going into Gainesville, and on my way back, listen to my notes that I've taken that day at school to try to be more time management. But it worked, and I told you about the books on tape. You thought I was boring. I picked you up from Tallahassee. We're headed to Birmingham. I said, look, we got to listen to a book on tape. You're like, and then you got hooked. But and that helped me, the books on tape, and helped you as well.
Yeah. Nah, he right, though. He put me on, not Dave Ramsey, Robert Kiyosaki. Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The first time I heard that was on an audio book with him. And I used to be like, man, why we gotta listen to these boring books? Like, what are they talking about? And so after being forced, I got some of the concepts that Robert Kiyosaki was talking about from the real estate side of things, and definitely started to embrace them in my journey.
And let them know you became my realtor in Birmingham. I got some rental properties there, and taught him how to be a real estate agent, because he was buying and he would want to go into a deal just because they made an offer on something. They're not going to go for that. Yeah. I'm like, well, you don't know that. This is what I'm willing to offer. I'm not looking for a house. I just want one. So, and it worked.
I remember that. Yeah, I forgot about that though. Those times, like he kind of, I guess I'll say, taught me the art of negotiation, right? So I would look at it like he said, man, this is a good house. You know, they may want 15, 20,000 at the time. It was like after the crash in 2008, 2009, so things were cheaper. And so for me, I'd just be like, hey, let's get it for this 15 or this 20. And he'd be like, offer him 8. I'm like, 8? Like 8? That's insulting.
Just a little bit more than 8. Maybe 10 to 12.
And he'd be like, no, just offer it. I don't have to buy the house. I think that was the lesson, though. It's like, he didn't have to do it. You know, he's in a really good financial position.
I didn't fall in love with the house. Yeah. It's just a house.
Yeah. And, this whole idea, because I've done a lot, as you guys know. I've tried a lot of different businesses. And one thing I would try to do is I would think it was that deal. Like, I got to get that deal. But what he taught me was, it's always a deal. Be a deal tomorrow. Be a deal the next day. It's always a deal. And so when you can approach it like that, it definitely changes how you decide if you want to move forward. And it gives you a stronger negotiation power.
And in Alabama, the housing market, too, was a lot more reasonable than it is here in Jacksonville. And when the 2008 crash, I lost a lot of money in the 401k, and I started thinking, you know, what can I do differently? And I had wrote a paper in undergrad when I was in England about real estate. And I just made a point then every year to buy a house. From 2008 up until about 2020, but I was buying a house every year, trying to build a portfolio of rentals. And all those houses are paid for. I paid cash for all of them, renovated all of them cash, and they all bring income. And that's just, I've been blessed to be able to handle money that way. My dad, as you know, worked at a steel mill for 42 years. Probably didn't make over $12 an hour, and he was very frugal, drove a school bus. This cat would get off work at 7 in the morning, work 11 to 7, get off work, get us kids to school by 8 o'clock, then come back at 3 o'clock, pick us up, and then get us home and work us. If it's daylight saving time, he'll work us at 8 o'clock. If it's not, then we worked about 6 o'clock, and then he'll go back to work again that night at 11. But he instilled in us a work ethic. He was good with his money. I have 4 brothers, 4 sisters. Your mom is my sister. And we survived. We lived sort of like middle class, I guess. We got motorcycles, cars on the 16th, 17th birthday, things of that nature. And we're a happy family.
Yeah, nah. So that's something you bring up about granddaddy. You probably gonna be my only guest who can even talk about doing this though. So he used to work in the field, y'all.
That's why they call me a country boy from Alabama. Every jury I picked here in Jacksonville, they know I'm a country boy from Alabama. So throw that in.
Yeah. But like for me, I definitely admire my grandfather. Watched him. Like he was different. They don't make him like him no more, man.
Don't
It's
make them.
just-
And we say 9 kids. All of us have the same mother and the same father. There's no extras. Dad don't have any extras
That we know.
we're aware of. But it's 9 of us and same mom, same dad, which today you don't. That's unheard of. So
Correct. And they were married. My grandfather died, which is his father, died January of 2020. This was
January
pre-pandemic.
15th.
Pre-pandemic. And we say when he left here, it disrupted the world. He broke up the world when he left here, man. But at the time, my grandfather and grandmother had been married, 64 years? 64 years. And so just always admirable of that family structure just as a whole. Because to his point, you just don't see that no more. That family structure is just not there. But what I wanted to focus on is you working in the field, because do you think having to do that, growing up in the country area, gardening to that capacity of granddaddy's whip, did that make you who you are? Do you believe it made you who you are?
it did. It made me a better person. It also made me want to do something different because I didn't like doing that type work. And when I got of age, 17, actually Dad had sort of pissed me off, and so all I wanted to do was I guess chase women and play sports. And I was like, well, I'm gonna work. So I ended up joining the military, joined the Air Force at age 17. Matter of fact, the recruiter came to the house, and Mom and Dad had to sign for me because I joined in March, and my birthday was April. Actually, my birthday is tomorrow, April 15th. But they had to sign for me, so I signed up for the Air Force, waited 6 months, September, went in, and that was the best decision. At 17,
Wow.
I feel that was the best decision I've made in my life yet, join the military.
Wow. Air Force.
Air Force.
Yeah.
Joined the Air Force. I was going to go to a small college, but my dad, I didn't want to be living at home anymore. I wanted to be a man, and I thought joining the military, going away, would give me that. And it did indeed. Because but for the military, I argue, but for the Air Force, I wouldn't be where I am today, but for the Air Force.
Wow. I think that's important too, because he comes from a different generation than us. Like I think my generation, we had way more opportunity than you all had when you guys were coming along, trying to figure out is how you're gonna create your family and create your financial position to be able to move around in this beautiful country, right? But I like to talk to specific points just because, again, I don't think I'll have guests on here who could talk to stuff like this. But I remember a story you telling me about what even made you want to become a lawyer.
Yeah, I met this African American, and he's a judge now in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale. And I was working then as a paralegal. I started in the Air Force as an administrative specialist, and then I cross-trained after 3 years into paralegal. And I went to England, and Bentwaters, England, met him, and I was taking classes at night. He was like, why don't you think about law school? I said, looking at all the books behind him, there's no way I can learn all that stuff. He said, it ain't about learning it. You just know how to find it. And he told me to step down 2 doors, and I followed his direction. Stepped down 2 doors, look in there, and there was this person that you wouldn't think was an attorney. And I went back and I taught. He said, well, if she can do it, why the hell you think you can't do it? And that kind of stuck with me. So I finished up my undergrad over there, and I came back to the States. I met racism in Valdosta, Georgia at a Moody Air Force Base. And I tell people, sometimes what you think is an obstacle is just God's way of sending you somewhere else. I met this guy, and he didn't like me much, and I felt that he was a racist. And I told him I'm getting out of the military come next July. They laughed at me because I had got Paralegal of the Year over in England, and they call it Paralegal of the Year for Europe. I got that the year before, and then here it is a year later, I'm saying I'm getting out of the military. Because my goal was to stay in for 20 years, and I decided to get out. But then I got out, and I talked with him. He told me, look, go to University of Florida. You're in Jacksonville. It's close to you. I said, well, let me finish up undergrad here in Jacksonville. I was working full-time at a moving company. I was a claims manager, and then I was going to school full-time here in Jacksonville. Wow. It was a lot of work. I was by myself, so I didn't have any kids, no wife. It's just me. So a lot of my time was built on trying to make myself better. Did that. Eventually got approved to go to the University of Florida, go Gators, and went there for 2.5 years. I didn't use it 3 years of law school. I didn't take a break because I hated law school. I wanted to get out of there. And they offered me a job as a state attorney over one of the summers, making like $6 an hour. And I was like, I'd rather go to school and finish than to make the $6 an hour and then have to go back. So did that. Also, while I was in the reserves, I stayed in the military. I stayed in the Air Force Reserves. So here I am traveling to Charleston 2 weekends out of the month and then going to law school every day.
Wow.
And that was kind of my life back then. But it was a sacrifice, as I say, delayed gratification. But it was, looking back, it was well worth the effort.
No, I see you now. You know, I wasn't privy to understand that because I was in McCullough while he was doing all this stuff. And so when they would come home and, you know, take us out and, you know, show us on the town, I would think, like, I want to be like him. He's like the richest person I know in my mind. That's what I'm saying. He telling me I wasn't rich then. He's rich now. But he wasn't rich then. But for me, he's saying a lot of things that, like, we like to talk about. And, like, I definitely like to push when I'm, you know, communicating value and communicating ownership and entrepreneurship. It's hard work. Like, you're looking at the result of hard work. This gentleman didn't just get to the success he is now just by chance. He got there by commitment, willing to put in the work when obstacles are presented. Didn't let that deter his thought process, and he continued to chase his dream, chase his goal, and do what he had to do. And now today, he's in a really strong position financially based on all those decisions. I think we as people often look at the result of a person and think it was easy.
Yeah, they look at the glory but don't know the story.
Oh, man.
Because it was days I stayed up late at night and talk about Dad. I would think about the hard work that he put in. I'm up at night maybe 11, 12 o'clock reading something and thinking I'm tired. But then I thought about what he did for all our kids, all his kids. And, you know, in this world, I do criminal defense work. They said 1 out of 3 black men are in prison. I have 4 brothers. It's 5 of us. None of us ever been in prison. The only one that's been there is my brother David, but he worked there.
Yeah.
He went in, but he was released and came back out. But and we're lucky, the family, that out of 5 boys, none of us ever been to any kind of prison. And it just says a lot about Dad. But with all the hard work he did, it made going to law school, when I'm up at 12 and thinking I'm tired, it woke me up to stay up to 2 to 3 o'clock to get done what I need to get done, basically.
I could see that. I could see understanding and seeing like hard physical work, you know, and then you're on a journey where it was more mental work, but still applying those same principles to achieve your success. Another interesting thing about how you've moved is you help people all the time. Like, one thing I learned from you is helping people, and learn from you and watching you is you're always helping people. Like, that's like I think a principle you stand on just from watching you. You're constantly helping people, helping clients, helping families. Just, you're known to be the person who helps people often. Like, where did you get that from? Why? Where did you get it from? Or like, why do you do that?
The more giving spirit was Mom, I think, your grandmother. She always said, "You just like me. You love to give." After she's asking for me to give her something, but Mom, she's always a giver, and I've always believed that the more you give, the more you receive, because I'm a witness of that. You know, I gave to you one day. You had big tires on your car. I used to give Christmas gift to all the nieces, nephews. I used to give them $50 or $100, and every year at Christmas time. So I came into town in Birmingham, but suburb of Bessemer, and it was at a flea market, I think. he pulls up Anthony here in a expedition with big old tires on it and needle on E. And he said, but for me giving him that $100 that Christmas, he didn't even have much gas to get home, but his car was looking good. And he would laugh because they were like, you don't dress fancy, Unc. You don't do this and do that. I'm just a country boy from Alabama, man. It doesn't take much to please me. I just try to do right, give back, and things work out. The more I give, the more I've received. So
no, I'm a witness to it, and I've adopted that same mentality. Just always trying to help people, trying to figure out, how can I use my network or my ability to try to help others. And I feel like God just finds a way to take care of you, make sure you're good. One thing we hopped over, and I definitely want to highlight this because I want the audience to know, the power of giving. This guy gives his sisters and his brothers and his parents. Unfortunately, my grandfather's no longer here, but I think you still give granddad a portion of grandma because she wanted it.
Yes.
Every year, this guy writes him a check, man. Every year.
Every New Year. I got a picture of my family in the office. I look at them every day, coming in and going out. And the firm is called Davis Law Group. Mm-hmm. So I just I told God, if I have a good year, that I would share. And so far, knock on wood, every year I've been in practice, I've shared because I've had some good years every year. And it's called the Davis Law Group, and I tell them, hey, family, you guys are Davises, and when I prosper, you guys can hopefully prosper with me. And they're delighted to see me every year at New Year's because they know I have some checks
you got
coming.
Them checks,
and that's because I've been blessed. So
I'm trying to see, how can I get a check? I ain't got a check yet. I can't get a check for nothing for some strange reason, but maybe one year I'll get a check.
Well, you owe me. I've invested in several of your adventures.
Yeah, he has.
Your ventures, and
it
will eventually pay off. But
and I follow him too. So I've given checks one time when I had a decent year. But my goal is to step up and do that gesture each year as Bob continues to do what he's doing, because I see that for your business and that mentality has done you well. So I definitely want to adopt it. But for me, man, this is a different podcast for me. Like I said, it's not often you get to pull the person who's responsible for where you are or plays a big role in where you are in life, mentality-wise, the decisions you make. Someone who's put money behind you, who stop you when you're making like crazy decisions.
Well, I've tried to stop you, but some decisions you still made, but nevertheless.
Well, just watch you grow and responsible for the growth, to pull them in to something that you very passionate about and are building, and be able to let you tell your story and let people see the man behind the man. Right, sometimes when you are building something, people think it's just you. But I'm very big on letting people know it's not just me. I have a team, but a part of my team is a mentor that I, cherish the energy, and hopefully we got many more years to continue to grow and see the things that the good Lord has in store for the Bob journey. So.
And everybody need mentors and good friends. I used to tell my boys, I have 2 sons, you show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
I made some great friends in the military that we're still friends to this day. Wow. I did 30 years in the Air Force, 8 years active duty, got out, stayed in the reserves for 22 years. You came to my retirement. But you see the love that was there from other people that I work with, and guys flew in from out of state to come to my retirement. But those guys, we still keep in touch, and all of them are successful. All of them are good guys, want to do more in life than just be in the military, and they are doing great things in life. But as you know, I tell my boys, show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
I definitely adopt that and have seen both sides of it, because I've not always had the right kind of friends, as you know. But we appreciate you. Thank you for coming on and giving us some of your time.
It was a pleasure.
And man, just appreciate it. So, everybody, thank you for watching the Let Bob podcast. find us again on all social media. We are Let Bob, and you can find me personally. I am Let Bob. And until next time, yeah.
It's just something that I feel that this world don't feel. I gotta keep it real.